FroyoBlack is the game for now, which is the second first round playoff game. I believe there's one second round playoff game which only has like one game existing. And I think it was like the least close one between the maps it went to. I don't know if I'll go to that, which is Velocity Mentality, so that's just a head up. A heads up even. Which, like for one map of a best of three, American least close map, probably not quite worth it. But I think most of the other maps, I think like there's one other map somewhere along the lines, doesn't exist, but everything else for the playoffs should be there. Which is good. This is map 1, I believe, at least according to how I attack these things, which could easily be wrong, but it is definitely the right game. And we see FroyoBlack just send soldiers behind, as you do so often, left and right, which is interesting. Doesn't make like the biggest of differences, but it just does the job it's supposed to. Meanwhile, on the other side, we just see Solly diving in. They only do it with single ones, so single bomb trying to cross over point, which works well because they do send 2 people behind. Instead of trying too desperately to deal with that, they do want to just push things forward, but they don't quite do it the way I actually expected them to do. They do actually spend a lot of time and resources dealing with stuff behind, while also leaving Sky fairly far back. It does its main job, which is getting people to commit back, get them space over the point. But it does concede space pretty quickly, but I don't know, this seems like 2 separate ideas. They had, I think it was Ball and Speedy go back, or players behind to keep track of him, maybe get somebody, chase something down. At the same time, he wanted to push forward, but Sky wasn't quite with either of those things. If Sky was more forward, it might have been a bit better. Or if she was way further back with people. She was just kind of stuck in the middle, which ended up being pretty bad in the end. Still got caught out of position, and Shade and Co did, for the situation, the right thing, but just concede. Sack for Medic, try again. Speaking of sacking for the Medic, that's what we see here. It's this ad, so you kind of have to try. And any kill that you get on top of the Medic here is just brilliant. It's a drop, it doesn't matter too much for Shade in the end. If he like safety popped crits and then killed something or not, would mostly end up being the same thing. Maybe slightly better in the end due to just nobody being in spawn with him. But end result is fairly the same regardless. And just quick work done by Velocity. Like the soldiers didn't concede too much ground before they actually went for it. Just punish Froyo trying to take space quickly. Also, I'm gonna call him Froyo because I hate saying Froyo. And too lazy to say FroyoBlack. Anyway, counter reaction is what's gonna be obvious here, which is just people flying in. Surprised there's a soldier up there, not a scout. That seems like the smarter thing to do. But either way, soldiers get through. They do only get one more player. Blast is still behind lines, so this guy's kind of weak. But that's what I was saying, like the more you get on top of the Medic, the better it is. This time they only got single player, where Velocity got like 2, including the Devilman, which makes retaking stuff off of the better spawn waves a lot easier. And a lot less scary to have to deal with anything. They do kind of want to contest them forward, but they obviously are too slow and don't have the percentage to actually do that properly. So it's mostly just a matter of like a weird sack wave, which might just work, because it forces people to play together through main. China, or whatever you call this actually. I completely forgot what you call this area, to be honest. Either way, like it forces everybody to come over here to chase and left the flank wide open. The concrete side. It's risky though. Like they play it really far forward. Sky gets out though, and that's the most important part there.
Alert. The control point is being contested.
No, it started to look like a really like half-assed forward hold, and it might still have been. At least got reacted on properly by Velocity off of down, maybe a mistake, I don't even know. Didn't look too intentional. But they reacted well off of it. And now we see a proper forward hold, at least for the time being, because it is this ad, so at least you want is them to use here. At which point, reaction just needs to be there to actually get onto the Medic. Really nice jumps by the soldiers. I was about to say, you probably want something to go like the left side as well. Through main 2. Top of that. Just so you increase your chances, and speaking of which.
Alert. The
Dio doesn't let up also sacks for the medic, which makes sense. At that point, what else are you supposed to do? Like, you could just try and outright win the DM fight, but it's so much easier to just get the medic and then maybe win from there, or at least, you know, get the even Uber situation back on field. So velocity still being what they were positioning-wise was just a bit unsafe. Either way, this is a somewhat even fight, slightly obviously favored positioning-wise to velocity, but they do have a lot of damage on their hands. And Saiga is just completely out of position, surprisingly enough. I think he wanted to hold Cliff, but nobody was with him, so that was just obviously the wrong choice. And without the Demo Man, it's just not wise to even attempt any of this. So Froyo just forces him back with damage, nobody on velocity takes the bait. Shade is not on crits, which he was earlier, I think. Like one life, which isn't surprising because it's Shade. Mostly even. So we either see some weird sack play or an exchange coming out. Either way, it's obviously harder for the crossing team to do something here. That's the entire point of the map. They do just want to pressure in, but Sky is just that big too early. They actually had a good situation on their hands there because they did get Shade to use really early. I wanted to hold on to this for too long. Which I can't fault her for the idea. But if the action isn't there, then it just falls apart, obviously. So a bit unfortunate for velocity. They had the start of good play going there. Because they got Shade to use first. Which, coming onto the point, is exactly what you want. Using first is never really that great. CBS again with a really nice jump just high up above everybody, and Froyo is just trying to make the best of it, but it doesn't really happen. So the Red Soldiers are actually really successful so far of actually finding Shade in the midst of all of this. Alright, they spread out a bit. Amnish still gets one more. I'm gonna chase that one too. They do bleed a lot of players here, which is kind of sketchy. Because they still don't have Uber to weaken with. And I'm just rotating the soldiers in, trying to like see what they can do. See a demo on the scout. Don't really want to commit for that. Especially with it being so close, they might as well already have. So they just drift by the soldiers. This time, Mamoru actually commits behind. He's pretty weak, but he also has the pack to fall back on. So he got behind completely for free. Uber is currently being kited. Depends on if Saiga can get something meaningful here. But for the most part, they are avoiding it. They got a player behind, which is brilliant. In the middle of this Uber. They do cap the point. Well, they are on the point, so overtime is not to begin with. Saiga is chasing too deep here now. The Uber is already off. Shade has massive ad. And they can't afford to bleed players right now, especially not with Mamoru behind. Just comes in perfectly. And this fell apart super quickly for velocity there. Like, the player behind was a good move. Saiga is overextended on the Uber. And then just a quick collapse of the numbers. They didn't even need to wait for the Uber advantage to come into play. So Saiga was getting a bit too desperate there. Anyway. Let's see. So while Velocity has like good plays, especially when around the soldiers, FroyoBlack looks a lot stronger in the fundamentals so far. Again, double solely behind. This time they catch Sky before she goes forward, which is good and bad. Good because she takes a lot of damage. Bad because Shabu's with that. Anyway, CVS commits over the point, just trades for Badonsky, which is pretty good. Boar wants to cross over as well. Has to do with 5-5 though. Froyo is just mostly taking the flank right now, which could actually be a really good win condition.
2, 1. Control point
Ooh, high 5 was too far back.
The control point is being contested.
That one was on high 5 more so than anything. He just had to try to score Shade out. He didn't even really have to win that fight. Obviously it's better if you do, needless to say. In the meantime though, the flank just completely took all the space away from Velocity, who, given the situation of the fight happening in front of them, were not too phased by the flank already being behind. Well, they definitely should have been. Alright. so both died. Shade died in a fashion where he has people to fall back a bit quicker. I don't know if he actually died earlier or not, or if his spawns or something helped, but either way he'll have advantage after this. He just gets air shot. This is a non-Uber commit here right now, so they just try to make this happen off of numbers and damage on the fight. Which gets some space damage-wise. Numbers-wise it's not going too well, so VS had to commit buy-in, obviously got air shot taken down. Off the back of that, quick follow-up on the damage by Froyo. Damage trying to crush a flank a bit. And with one player down, that's obviously a lot easier now. So now they're just trying to return the favor. And they're just collectively crossing up the point while needless to say pressuring over the flank. Heavily actually. And that's Mamoru going over to connector side damage to Donsky 5 on the other side. Great rotates heal over. They do take a bunch of damage though on the way out, which is a bit upsetting for Velocity to not actually get anything off this damage, because it's really, really good damage. On in the end, Ball is just the first one to die. Better damage technically for Velocity, but better focus fire leads to the first kill. Going FroyoBlack's way, and that, I mean they were already on the back foot, and they kinda had to. Space of general players. Secure this Uber. Ooh, and then Saga isn't on this Uber here. That's just mildly poor communicated. Look how much further back Donsky is in all of this. Meanwhile, Saga was just standing next to Uber basically, and say if this is supposed to be a solo scout to just get the force out, it's not gonna be the best thing here for Velocity to happen. Anything on the flank. Mamoru pressures a bit, forces the ball a bit back, but he obviously can't take the space for free then. If they're still there blocking him. Not doing much. Uber's fate, nothing much accomplished for Velocity here, since they did just drop Saigai. Beginning of this, while meanwhile Bodonsky is mostly fine. Maybe not completely, because he's kind of weak, but you know, he's not in any danger of dying, which just helps FroyoBlack just win this fight right now. And this is where DM fundamentals come in. Give us some ball commit, and by the looks of this 5-5 didn't quite know what was going on, but Shamu dies. Donsky eventually. Astro sums over, and this is just pick your target time now for like each and any one of these players. The team that does better eventually wins the fight, and needless to say, with a demo pick on top of that, it's gonna be a lot easier for FroyoBlack to do just that, having damage advantage. So yeah, they got the better Uber and then just... It's hard to say out DM. But yeah, they had the better fight afterwards. Or sniping now, which is interesting, because sure he's a good sniper, but if that's not your main strategy, it's a question of how well they actually play around that. For now, Shamu will react to something going behind Speedy. VS want to commit some sort of double sack over from the right side, with Saigai just spamming over the point. This guy being close enough to heal, but not too close to actually be in like major danger of dying, like immediately. She has lots of time to react to stuff there. Doesn't go too well though, with scouts having to fall back. Well, one scout at least, you know, the only one they have, having to fall back to deal with the soldiers. They don't have too much staying power, but both soldiers on Froyo actually do commit for this in the end. They do have advantage. So in theory they can afford a bit of a risk here. And the sniper side lane makes life just harder to begin with, but I don't know if they needed to really commit both soldiers there like that. They might have just been like really afraid of sniper, which is fair enough. In the end though, what happens is just guy being too far forward again. Well, I can't say again, really. Just too far forward with the team getting this like desperate force out where they didn't need the whole combo to be with it. Because it was 3 down. Oh yeah, so it's a bit of an unfortunate death. It does kind of equalize the situation, but that's not really what you want with 30 seconds left on your... or well, on the enemy clock, I should say. So lots of spam over the point, as you would expect in a no-go situation, which both teams want to contest in with. Also just try to jump. Mamoru kind of beefs, more or less gets hit for a lot. In a way, Last gets behind for now. He also wants to cross over, but there's 2 scouts waiting for him, just expecting that. Which is actually fairly interesting. Either way, last just gets behind for free, and he has just prime position to be of major annoyance. When this fight works out. And that's the interesting part about soldiers jumping around this map sometimes. Like, you don't need to have a big sack all the time. Onto people, like, immediately killing the medic. You just position behind them in a way where you can just threaten a lot of damage is sometimes all you need. And in this case, it does the job just fine. He forced them back. And everybody's just on this afterwards. Well, they couldn't really fall back too much either. So that jump controlled space really well. In the right moment. And that's exactly what I said with FroyoBlack has to better make fundamentals here. Just these like somewhat basic things just played around with by the entire team really well. To have as much of an impact as possible. Either way, match point effectively. Soldier goes behind. This time a lot tame, well, a lot more tame on both sides with the soldiers. Only CVS so far, and he's only committing behind. For the moment. That was loud actually. Surprising. Last takes his time. Actually really well timed, because both scouts were completely busy with like something else there in the meantime. Probably thinking that nothing is gonna happen, given that the soldiers did take so long to actually do anything. So this is a really well-timed jump by Laz. I don't know if he saw that the scouts were moving forward, or something called, or someone called that for him. Either way, it was perfect. The way it ended up happening. Slamish does end up losing the fight a bit against Ball and Shamu. But that's perfectly fine, because now they have like a clear goal for the rest of this mid, which is get Shade out alive. And then they're fine. As long as that happens, they're good, and it doesn't matter too much if they end up not capping first. Sure, it's a bit fortunate, but you'll be able to get it back rather easily. They do not want to concede ground too freely here, though. See by them only now going towards spawn. Just needless to say a bit risky, but it ends up working out. They always have somebody with Shade. And they only had like 2 players to deal with in the end, not the entire team anymore. Red and Shade. You were velocity capped for just a few seconds, and then FroyoBlack is all over this trying to come back. And Slamish isn't spawned yet. At least like he did, but he's not on field properly yet. In spawn. Ooh, but that's a lot of damage onto Shade. That makes the whole situation a lot more questionable now. Because they did end up doing this push kind of with 3 people, 2 were slow. Velocity wasn't too afraid to try to take some damage over the point before they leave. Ends up making them just too slow to actually escape this Uber though, and that's a big difference maker. Somebody drops this, Lemnish does. No pause. Which you'd assume he's back any moment, and he isn't back, so yeah. It was just like a crash or something, I assume. So that makes sense that there was no pause. Anyway, weird little fight here. And both teams kind of want to take it, but looks like Velocity underestimated what's actually on the field there for you, and it ends up just falling apart here completely. Just a big DM fest. And that just completely favored Froyo this entire game. Just on the basic team fight level play. We've seen this before, but last time they had this ad, so it obviously didn't last too long. And granted, with some nice soldier plays on top of that, it really couldn't either. But now it's on advantage, which makes the whole situation a lot more interesting. We have 4 sniping, trying to get something from main. And if you snipe from main here, you can't always expect to get the medic. But at least you want like some sort of pick. Anyway, this time they just busted Scout in, and these forward swords are not lasting very long, I'll be honest. Which is really sad to see, because that's the entire point. Like, first a single soldier, then a single scout. I haven't looked too closely at people's position here, unfortunately, because I just assumed it's pretty basic, and it looked pretty basic. I'm alright, people here with the medic at least. Without watching main, but if you can't deal with a single player walking in at your medic, then something's going wrong. Especially if it's a recurring thing that happens. Anyway, they take a lot of damage, so they just fall back, keep the situation, throw the soldiers in. Do get the force, do get a pick with Podolsky spamming as well. Both will die. Scouts don't want to leave immediately, which... It's fine if they die. It's fine if anybody dies besides Shade, but he's kind of weak. And that's exactly what I was talking about. And the fact that the scouts were, like, so far disconnected from Adam Gronsky just meant even more so than otherwise that the soldier had an easier time actually killing him, letting rockets in. He didn't even have to hit like 3 rockets if they were bad. He had to hit 2 bad rockets or 1 good one. Close range, with like 80 health on trade to actually kill him. With no scouts, the time you have to do that is just so much easier. So what I did praise fundamentally so far, that was big old security hole there. Anyway, big sad wave, 3 people, and the scout coming in late. Which is the standard, and like I said before, in these sort of situations it's perfectly fine if like anybody but the medic dies. Well, preferably not scout with the medic in spawn, because you want to build. And as I also said before, any pick on top of the medic is great. As long as you don't spawn like super far delayed from everything else. The Slamish only does a little bit. They do at least get ball with that. It's not really worth it if you look at Small Timer. But yeah, standout sack with there. You just need a good coordinated jump. Arguably, like having like not everybody quite jump at the same time, like have like the first. I mean, they kind of did that, I guess, with the scout coming in late. But like, that even goes for 5 CP, like having hard jump first and then 1 or 2 jump delayed, which in this case was Slamish jumping, walking in late. So in case the mat hits a really nice surf, you are not stuck at the position you landed on, and have somebody like being able to follow where the medics actually went up surfing. Either way, Uber just immediately popped around the corner, not any time wasted here trying to just catch people, not really working out, which is upsetting, but they do just end up staying on cliff for a bit longer than probably Velocity was hoping for. And that actually is how they do get these kills here, by just not backing off immediately. They get the space and they want to keep it. And it gets them a lot of extra credit. Not Sky, but pretty much everything else. Which is still a lot of time wasted. And for product, that's all you can ask for sometimes. They have mild desert, enough to be worried about it. First it comes over right side. No forward hold attempt this time, which they technically had time for, but given that they so far have like a 0-2 track record on actually successfully forward holding for any amount of time, it's not surprising that they don't try it third time. Velocity just bullies their way in slowly, gets a lot of space. Shade doesn't have yet, and they want to probably play it safe, but while this is happening again, the flank is just being overrun by Froyo. Just send both soldiers behind. Oh, not both soldiers, the scout and the soldier, never mind. So they want to control the flank while this is happening, which makes perfect sense in my eyes. Especially on like the slightly worse situation here, because they don't get Shade out and they gambled on him surviving. Given that they were close, I can't fault them too much for trying to stay in somewhat here, but they were still too far away from having to actually be able to do that successfully. They do get so much damage though, and the flank is still in their hands, which is brilliant, because Sky has nowhere to safely back off into. They don't know where she is though, that's a bit of an issue actually. They end up rotating away from her, this is so sad. That was a free kill if they just had any clue where Sky was.
Mission ends in 30
But because they were busy in the fight and everybody else was like super far away from any of that, nobody had a clue where Sky was. That needed to be a kill though. That's really lucky for Velocity. Because how players were stationed, there was no way she should be able to get out alive. Ends up in their favor, they don't actually end up losing too many, despite being like across the board sub 50 health or something after they died. Froyo wants to try to test again. CVS goes behind, Speedy just goes in front. Everybody tries to fall back, which means go time for the other 3. But CVS is weak, so the question is how much standing power they have with any of this. and what the actual goal is. Obviously, best case scenario is Shade. Shade's falling back, and that's a bit of a task to accomplish here anymore. As is just going straight in. There you go, both soldiers end up dying there. Blonsky died on the push forward, and last it's denied due to everybody else playing it relatively safe when needed to.
Alert. Our control point.
Oh, it's called out. Ooh, and there we go. They refuse to give up space properly. It's a sketchy decision to make because look at the time. It's 20 seconds for each team. Can't really get them get a forward hold here and have the exchange happen so far away from the point that you just can't get overtime anymore. But they're 2 down, and Froyo has no hesitance trying to just sack for Sky here. There's only a single scout against 2 trying to stop this. I'm actually surprised Sky took so long to just leave, because Shibu could just block the door. So that was a bit silly there. Unnecessary. But it ends up giving them the space they were asking for on Froyo. That Velocity didn't want them to take.
Ends in 10 seconds.
While trading 2 for 1, sure, Mamadou has worse spawns. But given the time, Velocity don't have much time to wait here for anything. So they end up using first. They end up using with effectively not everybody on the Uber. Like Bones, I a bit late, which isn't too big of a problem. The major problem here is CVS not being anywhere close to being in here while he was halfway done. Same with Mamadou, to be honest. But they have the Uber much later. Which is just such a good win condition here. Look at the Uber phase, Shades just now is dwindling, and they already start dealing damage. Sky is dying, which isn't necessarily the pick to lead here. I'll be honest. Much more important would be a demo pick here. Speedy kind of tries, ends up getting Shade more so than anything. Last Ice as well. But yeah, like the dangerous constellation you can have here is like a demo on the scout. A fight like this. Because the demo can control the space on the point. And if the scouts want to commit for that, that's the other scout just wins the DM fight. And it just forces bad decisions. That's kind of what happened here. They wanted Sky too badly. While on Velocity it kind of was incidental that Shade died, while also dealing damage to Blonsky. Which ends up just being good either way. Anyway, that's the round for Velocity. Close one, but they managed to at least get one on the board. Means it just isn't impossible for them to do. Again, CVS goes behind quickly, and Froyo is just taking the sweet time to actually commit anything forward at the moment again. Just like last round. CVS this time, however, a lot weaker and a lot more threatened by people, so he has to wrap all the way through spawn. Water has to take space and maybe find somebody trying to chase down his teammate, which ends up working. Last was kind of weak. Trying to help out behind and will die for it. However, Ball gets himself in trouble as well. It's most likely going to be a trade here unless he's magically flying out of there, but he isn't. However, in the meantime, while people are contesting behind, which 2 people clearly were, and the rest of them kind of need to be afraid of. Actually not 2, 3, because Lemnish, Mamadou, and Laz who died, so that's 3 people not actually taking part in the fight at front, which means the other 3 just don't have a good fight in their hands. The other 3 have a 4v3 fight in front of them, with a player behind it they don't know where it is. Which ends up working for Velocity to get the space they want, which in theory is good, but CVS and Raw ended up trading for 1 on War's end, and CVS just ended up getting space and eventually dying, which is good in a short amount of time. In the longer run, however, if you can't get anything off of that space other than it, you're not gonna last very long in that fight. He dies. They end up trading 2 for 1. Well, 1 for 2 I should say, in the long run. They lose to only get 1 in return and space. Easily taken back off of the fact that they lost 2. So while it worked at the beginning, it doesn't work out in the long run. Because they couldn't at least support the play behind any more than they already did. Sky goes weaknesses early. You could do get Shade to use Gronsky isn't denying Sky's exit yet. Almost did, actually. Those sticks were evil. Realized almost too late. But not quite, so the exchange is going not terrible until now, where the flank is coming back in. Walks over ball before he has any help. Has some damage, get that. Speedy wants to take the fight, and CVS is just spamming. Trying to like get some damage onto last, which he kinda is, but not really. And then leaves Slamlish to just walk over the rest of that. Ash gets his arrow, Slamlish is weak. And with Speedy dying, in the meantime, isn't looking too hot. And again, Froyo is just taking Cliff with that for a little bit at least. Not like immediately have things come back in. However, they also bleed Slamlish when they really didn't need to anymore at the end of the flank fight. Oh yeah. That's just the end of that one. Like, they were playing it really well for a while, and then they just overcommit a bit, lose players later than Velocity did, and bad spawns off of having the point kick in, and you just get punished for extending really fast.
The control point is being captured.
Right. FroyoBlack pops over the point. Nice. Anything with this. You end up just committing for the demo. Knowing that the initial Uber actually pretty much nothing. So it's not looking too hard on velocities. Oh, not on velocities on Froyo's end here with the Uber. Versus the Uber just gets at the point, trying to chase down people before they're too far back, but it looks like it's kind of late. So you have to look for like the consolation prize at this point, which is trying to not lose anything here. Speedy weak in front of Slamlish as the Uber fades. I don't know if that's happening. Just barely. And Shamu actually capitalizes on this. It leads to Sky being alone though, and that's a nice timing there by Lance once again. And as Soldier on this map, if you don't have good timing, it's just over for you. And that wasn't, like again, really good timing by Lance. He's just immediately in there when the scouts are not quite with the medic, and Sky was alone for a second there, he's just in there, gets the kill. So without going into any more detail on his POV, it might be worth watching his, to be honest, for this map. Though communication is obviously an important factor here as well. Who's going behind her? Oh, there's Lance. Getting CVS. But this Shamu kind of weak, doesn't matter, pressure's on from the front, and that's what they really wanted here. Froyo concedes, uses Uber off of a bit of damage and the sniper being there. Try to catch Sky before she's too far back, because that's the only really kill that you care about at this point here. But it's not happening. People more or less sack their life sword, which is fair enough. Sure, it wastes time, which isn't great, but if you have a decent Uber yourself in return, better than what Froyo just had, then you can't complain. The question is if they can do that. So far the forward sword have been kind of weak for FroyoBlack. And once again, it's not looking too good at the start. Just a Soldier 1v1, which ends up trading, which, given that it's a forward hold, is kind of bad for the team we're holding. Soldier tries to sneak in, mistimes it. Ass goes down to demo before Sky is even a door. End up losing Shimbu somewhere along the lines, but they get themselves in a position to just pop in. Saigai hacks all the bad hits the pipes he needs. Saigai there to clean up for him. Oh, not Saigai, what am I talking about? The scout, I forgot which one this was. Iwabo, Shamu, obviously.
Mission ends in 30 seconds.
Either way, it does the job. Really good Uber. We have Velocity having done what I said they needed to do, which is just having a good Uber off the back of what happened previously. Now it's just a matter of keeping this lead intact. Because time-wise it's sketchy and they can't afford to lose the point for too long. So the U advantage is like highly important here right now. Velas is just jumping through lane. Marmalu's trying to take space on the flank. Which CVS takes as an opportunity to jump, but he's jumping straight into 2 scouts. Trying to get onto the Demoman. On this non-uber commit by FroyoBlack. And it's just incredibly badly timed. Scouts are in perfect position to deal with that. Meanwhile, Sai wants to try help as well and just gets destroyed as well. Demoman on top of that. That's 2 really fast picks. Just make this tame non-uber commit just turn into just a 3-point take. Big picks. Just like expecting positioning really well. Uber Boo used really early trying to just catch people before obviously Shade gets. Which worked once here, but this time they're so much more ready for it. It's not going anywhere, they catch people coming close to them. Shade's getting jumped all over the place, probably has to use here any moment. He does pop, or he may or may not get airshot. Just for safety's sake. They can end this just here if they just get some kills. And they very much know that, so there's no reason to gamble around Uber any more than they already did. And right now, even if Velocity gets back to the point, they have such a worse position in this fight. And there we go. That's 3-1. Actually, that's not match point, because NA is weird, and apparently 3-1 is like halftime. I forgot about that, to be honest. It's playing to 4, having halftime round before it could potentially end makes sense, I suppose. I don't know, dude. Cross the force is weird.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Control point enabled. Move. Alert. The control point is being contested.
Shade says he's running crits to bait, which to be honest probably isn't a meme. Because it never is. But we'll see. Let's follow this.
1.
There we go.
1.
1. Team colors changed. I still hate it, but never not hate it. Bass goes instantly behind. Doesn't actually go anywhere with it though. Marmalu jumps in. Also kind of more behind than actually on target. I guess Speedy want to commit now. And I hate this awkward moment where every soldier just jumps at the same time on product sometimes. This time just all soldiers are much more concerned about actually getting on target.
2. 1. The point
Like every soldier just really wants to get onto the medic.
The control point is being captured.
Which ends in a lot of kills really fast.
Alert.
Late attempt by
Being contested.
FroyoBlack to make up for some numbers. Which I don't know if I agree, because they had the space. They just wanted the extra credit, they wanted Sky really badly.
Point is being captured.
Which is surprising, because they could have easily just played it a lot safer there. Which ends up swinging it heavily in Velocity's favor. They take the point for the moment. And they're actually not on crits, which is surprising, because you'd kind of expect Shade to go crits when he says he's going crits. Either way, they end up just trying to commit with this Uber fight. Don't really get them to use much earlier. Like 10% is almost nothing, unless they get them like messed up majorly. And there's not going to be a major case of flashing in case Shade actually flashes.
Our control point.
Guy is really far forward of this. They do have a full solo. Everybody else is just not on this, trying to just play safe. Not let anything get behind, which so far has been a major problem for them. There we go, this time the flanks together on Connector, the soldiers are not jumping. Jamu actually just tanks this entire Uber here alone to the point where Podolsky eventually isn't flashed anymore, because Shade probably realized trying to take this anymore into like flashing territory wouldn't be wise, but it made the decision like a 50-50 coin toss between flashing for a worse Uber or not flashing, hoping somebody doesn't die. And it didn't end up working in their favor. They lost Podolsky, they lost Slamish on the flank, trying to get through. Much better exchange for Velocity here. Considering how closely used these Ubers were compared to each other, it's interesting to see. Anyway, they do want extra credit of this, which is trying to catch people off guard here before they back off, and they play it really well. Sagai denies the exit, which makes it so much easier for Speedy to like read where people are going. No escape for any of them. Really, really good Uber velocity. I might actually go back to this one at some point as an example for people, because they played this really safe. Like, Shibu tanked this entire solo really well. It did probably end up mattering a lot that Podonsky died. In general as a double man, and just a pick on top of that overall. Either way, they made the best of what they had, and quick commit on the cliff when they still could. When they still had the space numbers to do so. Worked really well. This guy's pretty weak at the last, just circling all the way around flank. Misses that one. Mamadou tries to commit. It's mostly just a matter of taking point right now for them. We'll see. It's only 5 right now, and Sky almost has. And they must know, obviously. Like, if you miscalculate you over here, then it's just not looking too good. Gives tried to survive there, but not really happening. Tried to catch himself. Anyway, popped around the corner. Shade is nowhere to be found, which is pretty much exactly what you want, so you can only ask for a few kills, and even that's not too good. Ooh, never mind. Shade stayed close trying to heal people, I think. I could be wrong. Either way, Shimu was in already for it. Doesn't end up mattering too much, because people still get past them while chasing desperately. Which still makes this an overextension. As much as they go Shade. They go crits. No, no. It's interesting. I mean, you could always, like, with any Shade crit, you can just say it's a meme. And it kinda is every time. But at least this time it's used on even Ubers in, like, a pretty random spot of the game. Which is much less predictable than just him going crits at the beginning of a round. Which makes this a much smarter choice. It's still visible. People forget about that, and I do too, to be honest. But you can see the crits not just from the Medigun model, but also from the fact that there's sparkles around the heal beam. And if people are trying to go deep, they get Podonsky with that. Triple dice on the way. ED does not get what he was asking for. Which makes this overall just like a roadblock for Froyo to take back the point. Because you can't really expect it to keep this in your position much longer. Sure, you have it, which is great and all. But without any security, that 2 more players would mean not wisest decision to try to keep on this fight. Especially if they saw that Shade has crits, which they might have. It's easy to forget about that in the heat of the moment, and they just try to jump people. They do get them to use. Shamu being close is making things a lot better, which makes me believe they might have known. Because nobody really bumped together there. Like, Saigai wasn't in on this. Second soldier wasn't in on this. It was just a soldier and a scout. I don't know why Boss is still here, to be honest. I mean, sure, you want to get the medic, I guess. But right now, it's just probably for the best. Not lose any more players, and they still do. Which just ends up wasting time, and crits build super fast. By the time Speedy's back up, they're ready to push. If they don't catch Shade immediately, you'll have the moment the super fates. More or less. But it needs stuff to die here. And it technically does, but it's down scouts. And there you can see that was just a desperation maneuver. To get out of spawn. Try to get people with nothing really to be found. Like, they get more kills of the fact that Froyo tries to chase them back to spawn. Which ends up still working in Froyo's favor than they did with the Uber. They just popped so early.
Mission ends in 60.
And like, everything died back here. Like, nothing actually died anywhere deeper into the map. They never went there. Saigai tries to get behind. People are more or less ready for it. Gives wants to commit at the same time. Nice sticks by Podonsky, actually. I love seeing just like really good gigs that predict people's jumps. So they're like ready to do like an 80 damage per sticky on landing or something. Anyway, Sackwift goes nowhere. Which is kind of interesting though, because they, when it was like ambiguous as to whether or not they know there was crits on the field, they played better around it than they did this time. That's the wrong demos folder. That's just me typing record demo in my config every time I lag. Which is kind of sad. Lag a lot. Wait. What is it even loading now? Oh, there we go. I need to delete all of these at this point. I think some of these related to ETL stuff. I don't know if I should. But I don't think anybody's asking for my demos anytime soon. I think I could if necessary. And that's the first one, that's the second one. Alright. Second map is... I don't actually know. Just check if it's the right game, mostly. Not even a map. Sunshine it is. Which is interesting. Mentality Fury was interesting. On Sunshine, especially the mids. I also love to see on the mids. Nice cold ball. So I'm interested to see how this one will play out. There's a really high likelihood we're gonna see more Sunshine next season. Unless like everybody like really ends up loving maps. Why is my config not working? That's weird. Now it's working. Let's reload this so we can see the full mid fight. That was strange. My config just failed for a minute. There we go. Yeah, okay, everything's fine. I couldn't pause or slow down for a second. But now everything's fine. Alright, like I said, interested to see how this goes. I doubt we're not gonna see more Sunshine next season. I'd be surprised if we wouldn't. Alright, each team just takes their own cafe side. And spams a lot of on Tetris, whatever, like their own center area. Their own mid half. And they're just rotating across each other right now. Onto Tetris. Have the medic stand behind the high ground. Bunched up between a lot of scouts on the high ground. So just going enemy choke. Speedy takes high ground. This is where people actually start committing. Mamadou jumps tower, Speedy jumps over, trying to just raw commit into people. Mostly looking for shade, it seems. Which puts some damage on the board. Mimo TVS wraps around. It's hard not to expect him coming at some point, because he had to go all the way through enemy choke, which is really visible. With only little damage on shade. Saga puts some on the board as well, but Sky at the same time is super weak, so you'd kinda hope the scouts would play a little bit more safer, because Laz and Slamish are just wrapping around them right now. With that damage. Shade just dies without CVS actually having done anything about that. Guy's super weak. And they're just forcing each other to try to take enemy side. Which is a really strange concept to think about on a map as big as this. But it ends up working out really well for Sunshine, more so than other maps like Process. Either way, this just ended in like raw spam onto the medic after a single jump. Kill Shade, and then everybody just went on trying to defend Sky. Which is good in the sense that now everybody's obviously with the medic. But also, nobody on Froyo has anything to lose if they went the sack for Sky just like this, because they would have to back off this direction anyway. So there's no other choice for them. So this is a really awkward spot to be in right now. This would be a lot easier to deal with if it was less players, but it's the entire team of Froyo they have to deal with. CVS coming in late from wherever the fuck he was. That's quite a bit here. Alright, let's see.
The control point is being captured.
It's over here at this point. So look at how far back they have to fall back on, just to desperately try and survive. Only to still lose players here, because there's just too many ways for people to come into the second from. To safely watch everything. What a weird mid-fight that was at the end. So yeah, that would be a lot more successful if like anything else died other than trade. This is just so much easier to deal with the incoming people at that point. Alright. It has been taken still by his velocity here. Bang wants to just surprise play onto Slamish. They're kind of beefing short. Slash comes in early. Tries to just ball a sack in, take space for the team. Let them enter a bit more safely. Slamish actually wins the first fight, doesn't win the second one. Conceptually, it was a nice idea by Froyo, but it just doesn't end up working whatsoever. Or by velocity even. Slamish got out them more or less in 2v1. They do end up sending people behind, but they also do not have anybody willing to second the point, because they already are 2 down. Which, again, just shows how nice of a play this could have been with Boar and the Soldier. But they just lost the fight. Nice ideas that kind of not worth it too much if you can't execute it. Back the idea. Let's see how they can make better from here. They got Podolski immediately with just popping in. So they're catching it out of position and taking the exchange into them, but they also will have a much worse superhero right off the bat. But the question is what they do off the back of that. The answer: Speedy behind. Probably for some sort of recommit and them leaving early if they can. Speedy dies immediately, and Sky Super isn't lasting long enough for the blob of Froyo to be really afraid of anything here. But they just end up walking over them. Again, you can see what Velocity is trying to do. Very much so. But it ends up also being the problem. Because as much as I can see what they're trying to do, and as much as it's not a terrible idea, I'm sure you can see it really easily too and just play into that. And just not let them leave whatsoever. Or the recommit, and even then, really took him 1v1 on the flank where he had was out. Ends up losing us surprisingly. And this leads to eventually the second being taken by Froyo. Alright, second, well not second, last push even. Speedy's just hiding behind him, which is kind of clever. If you get spotted there, you die immediately, but either way, gun goes down quickly. Point is being played. I'm surprised nobody tries to cross over to the other side, because they had so much Uber left at that point. That they easily could have done that. Like, that would have been a lot of damage onto Boar and Saigai with some sticks on top of Slamish being in the face. They do manage to find Speedy quickly enough though. So it's still an easy pick. And a lot of point pressure that they can use eventually here. For the moment they're just trying to get the easy picks, which at this point is the Soldier as well. Being in the backlines. Dash commits pretty much disconnected from anything else, which is kind of sketchy, but they have a big advantage situation on their hands. Not Uber-wise, but just general game situation. Guy eventually gets, but nothing is with her. And she doesn't even reach a point in time anymore. And even then, barely anything would have spawned in time, so yeah. FroyoBlack did mostly right. I still would have liked to see this be a bit more aggressive, but at least they played They just did the opposite of what I expected them to do. Which also subsequently was exactly what Velocity expected them to do. Which led to the soldiers waiting for the long-con play to be called out early. So far, this is just a case of like FroyoBlack very much like being able to anticipate like almost anything Velocity does, except for mid at the moment,
Point is being captured.
which we'll see a similar story. Except this time, Froyo is just so much more decisive about trying to walk over enemy side, which leads to them actually getting a lot more damage early. Question is if they can follow up on that. Laz is playing really slow from the flank here. That might actually be a really smart play if you take enemy side. I like that. Nice little adaptation, but not best timing on this one this time around. Still some damage. They take so much themselves. Not killing speedy. CVS commits onto Shade, or wants to desperately get a decent rocket, but obviously not in a position to really follow up on that. So much damage, but they do end up losing players first in Velocity. 2 of them overall. Which just makes staying in so much harder. And this is the sketchy part. If you try to take this enemy side mid, and this goes pretty much for any map, but let's just talk about Sunshine specifically. It's so hard to leave from a losing position. Because your exit out to your side of the map is just completely blocked off by people on the enemy team. And in case of this map, it's so far away. Like on Gully, you might be able to awkwardly weasel your way into Big Door again. Because it's at least kind of a small mid, so you can maybe hope with one serve you're out. Here it's just so much less possible. And at that point you just kinda have to accept the fact that you lost if you're already like 3 down or something. You just have to look for the constellation prize, which would be sacking for Shade, even like in the medic's case, I guess. Because there's no way you survive. And if you do, then that's gonna be like a highlight clip for the ages. Because that would involve some... Like, that would need like 2 or 3 insane serves to get out of that one alive without being chased down afterwards. The situation where only Sai and Guy were left alive anymore. And as much as people would kind of hope for these situations to happen to them, it's just so unlikely. Anyway, and again, Uber comes in from enemy perspective top left, pushing perspective top right. Immediately over the gun, a lot of sticks here, which just makes life uncomfortable a bit, I guess. Doesn't really accomplish much itself. This time they try to cross over a bit more and just deny rotation a bit more. Get some damage on the board onto people trying to leave the point and block. This is kind of what I expected earlier to happen, except with a bit more Uber on Podolski anymore than we see here right now, because he's just kind of being left alone right now. Still, needs picks 1, probably 2 with CVS. There's no way he survives, right? People miss a little bit, but Laz is also still there, so they're dealing a lot of damage still, despite Podolski dying. He still effectively baits people into predictable positions. Demo being down is probably not the best choice. Like if Laz and Podolski switched roles in that situation, would have been a lot better, I'd say. But either way, it just leads to exactly what they want to happen here. 3-4-2 so far. That guy is still there, which is a bit of an issue. What is that? That looked weird. That's just all the other names stacked top of Shiva. Anyway, it's just such a better fight to take it right now. And this time, Sky won't get Uber for sure. So they just bully their way off the point. Or onto the point, I should say. And subsequently have the one extra player they have just pressure the Damo man to the point where it's just a lose-lose situation, regardless of what you do. So again, really nice last push of Velocity. Never quite the way I expected to go. And I don't know if that's for the better or for worse. And I'd say, given around the fact what Podolski was doing this last push, or like how the team supported that as well, I think it's using the Uber to get Podolski to pressure over the point a bit more would probably be better. But the way they do it, they still have follow-up damage on what he's doing. Yeah, that doesn't go too bad. Anyway, Velocity sends... Actually, no. Velocity. Wrong team card. Froyo sends Mamadou in deep. Doesn't really go anywhere. It's the change of pace for the mids, because so far it was just both times enemy side-ish mid. A lot of damage on the Sky, but he might not actually get out. No, Slamlish doesn't win. That's so sad, because they lose players already. I think he should have just... I mean, it's easy to say in retrospect that he should have committed for that, but... They have Last trying, he gets denied, but no rocket comes out of his launcher in time. And they still kind of try to commit over their own Tetris into enemy territory with a fast jump to start things off with. But velocity reacted nicely. Didn't let the soldier coming in early do like much to anything. And from then on out, it was just like seeing where the most aggressive person was and get them as early as possible. Almost got Sky, but almost isn't enough.
Alert. The control point is being contested.
Which will be interesting now at last now.
Time has been added.
Well, velocity uses their demo man somewhere. But how does that even happen? I'm not gonna rewind for that, because it's probably stupid and I don't wanna know. Anyway, it just like blows the wind out of the sails for this one. I'm surprised they even went for that. Because they wouldn't have much advantage anymore, but they still would have advantage if they waited for Psy. There was no reason really to rush it. Velocity might have been pushed a bit by Froyo, but on like that Uber situation, if it was like that, like 50 to 100, it's still scary to send anything forward. So I don't feel like that the rush was justified. Like to get into the last. Now then just get themselves into this situation where it's the opposite, 50 to 100, roughly 40. Is at more or less the time it actually happens. Damage dies early, they just try to send everything, well not everything, but a lot of behind. Through lower and lower lobby. While the rest avoids the Uber. And it's a bit sketchy because if people get caught off guard while they try to get behind, they're not gonna have much staying power here. Due to just losing numbers early, but look at that, Speedy is just in front of Shade. Perfectly timed. And the soldiers eventually die, but everybody else just can commit in at the same time off of that play. Get behind them, not even for the back half necessarily, but just onto the medic. The rest of the combo, the other 3 people that weren't on this, God medic, demo man, have just 3 space on second to take. I don't know if Froyo even capped or not. I assume he did. So they just capped it up, went straight to last. Still want to commit of this, which it's going somewhere. Takes a while. But gun goes down to the demo man. They get 2 picks, they lose down demo man. Shade's still dead. Or again, I should say. It's piped. At this point you even have like a plan B, which is just to have Sky survive. Now you just need to wait for the soldiers to come in and just walk on the point. Simple as that. So really nice play by Velocity on second to get back in with the players behind. I really like that. It's a bit sketchy because they did like make the whole play start really fast and people could easily be still taken out by 3 players, but as it happened, it worked really well. Let's see the mids. Mids haven't been too bad for Velocity. So again, the case of taking Tetris. Speedy goes in early. He hit anything early, but he does hit Shade eventually. CVS comes over with that as well. Double solid commit, beating 3 rockets. Aggressive attempt actually by Velocity here. It's not going too well. They're missing shots. But you can have like the best plays you want. If you miss your shots, it's not going to go anywhere. Which gives Froyo so much time to just try to survive. Eventually it's not going to well because they're not killing anything either. While sending people to Sky, which at least works. This was such a weird mid, because like you had 4 people on Velocity trying to kill Shade and only 2 on Froyo actually trying to kill Sky. And Froyo just beefs for so long that it still somehow ends up working out.
The control point is being captured.
At least in terms of winning the mid, not so much in case of actually having any of the match survive. He is still somewhere behind lines. Finds himself in front of Shade. Which would have been nice if it worked, but there were just too many. Picks all over the place. Guy dies, oh I missed that. God damn it. Didn't even know that was happening. Well, neither was Velocity. Viz goes in, gets Shade eventually. This is just a big old DM fight right now. Damage on the other side, Marmaduke on their half. I guess really concerned about Slam and ends up kind of working, I guess. Oh, the damn fight never ends. So you eventually wins it.
Alert. The control point is being contested.
And yeah, with the numbers lost, trying to just keep on this weird fight. Froyo takes second for free as well. I don't know, the last minute or so just came down to DM. And taking at least a little bit of a smarter fight than the other team. Okay, even was this is interesting. So far we only had like full Uber commits onto last. And when it went to last versus like non-full Uber, doesn't matter how much advantage it was always advantage. Which isn't the case this time. Last just gets pre-fired instantly. Do send Slamlish in with this as well. Let's up getting one. I was close to dying. Getting two there would have been interesting. Sending third one. First just sending everything in. Which again, it almost caught it by surprise. Sky was forward and like a second or so later nobody would have been able to react to that. As it stands, Velocity used the opportunity to get out of last, get an exchange going. Sky goes super weak here, which might be sketchy post-Uber. For the moment, their Uber goes better though. They're able to chase down somebody on the flank, which was last. They're able to chase down somebody in Cafe, which is Donsky. They're able to get onto Slamish's face, also on Cafe. And just all around the better Uber. That was like a high risk play by Froyo. The reward is obvious, like you send in one by one, player after player into last, trying to get the force. If you get the force, it's maybe not fine, because you're still just 3 on second, but as long as you don't have to use, you can kind of gamble around the fact that second is able to be retaken without having to use against 3 players. Or with 3 players. Once those respawn, you have an easier time going at it. But it's such a high risk, as we saw. And Velocity didn't have to use Kenny early at all in this exchange. So they just used the time they had extra over Froyo and the Uber. Take the point. Damage that you're getting out of that. Oh. Take it all. Shamu gets out here, it's good, but nah. Ball wants to help out, gets himself into more trouble. Spawns are slowly trickling back in. Froyo does not want to rush it this time. Last time, obviously neither team had Uber in a situation like this. But they also went to a huge DM fest. Right. Sorry, that was my notifications for anybody that might have thought that's theirs. I'm sure there will be another one. Jamu and Spy. Yeah, there's definitely another Steam notification coming, so sorry for anybody watching in the future. Thinking they have any. Alright, so Froyo doesn't really want to do anything risky here. Which is surprising given how they played last a second ago. They're playing it a lot more conservative on mid right now. Which makes sense given like how badly it misfired. I guess. Like it's the whole reason why we are on mid right now instead of on Velocity's last anymore. Either way, yeah, it's a good old stalemate. Which isn't bad, to say. Can be interesting to see how teams approach this. Especially a team like FroyoBlack is a lot more aggressive a lot of the time. So far, simple stuff, just quick counter-sack, which I always prefer than like a counter-sack like 10 seconds after the other one. Because look at that, they almost have the same spawn time now. They actually almost do, yeah. Second apart. Like 1.5. Which is so much better than having it super delayed. Because by the time your player, or their player's backup uses 2, and they won't get player out of this. But there's never the moment where you can just sack into 5 people. There's always the moment where you have to sack into 6. Your speedy tries. But with some extra damage before that, attempted to be spammed into last, or last even second. So this time there can't be a fast counter-sack. Damage comes in a lot later, but he also just boxes his way in behind, which could be interesting. TVS reads the situation, just gets onto Shade's face, forces immediately, which is good and bad, because A, it's false, but B, he's certainly gonna die with a player behind lines that they need to be concerned about. But Speedy just now spawns. Let's be concerned about damage coming in. Ball's playing slow, it might actually be good. Sky Guy is pretty much solo on the Uber. Sky goes super weak on this Uber. Which she can't stay anywhere into this, because High Five is just gonna like shot her from this range. Or Mamalu is gonna one-shot her from any range. But they need to get out of early hours, like immediately. This is just such a bad fight to take right now. Look at that, Blast is wrapping around. Which, as much as CVS read their position, them staying here, keep as they did, is just making themselves being able to red as well. And Slamlish is just delaying people. I don't even know if he killed people, he probably did. But it doesn't matter, because none of those people were able to stop the wraparound by Lass in that Flowers fight. So it all works together really well for Froyo.
Time has been added.
Alright, Froyo again, just trying to take space early before any setup is really here. Just busting their way through. Optimistically, I want to say. And at worst, this is gonna be trades. I don't know what this will be looking like at best. Because I think this is what this would look like at best. Hey, sometimes DM is all you need. This is such a risky play. And the fact that Saigai died somewhat early saves the situation a lot, because otherwise you just can't stay in that doorway on the left. Alright, let's speed things up a bit, this is half time. So far this was an interesting game though.
One.
Like for any sort of like high-level TF2 game where you have one obvious like favorite, seeing it still be like highly competitive, or the team that's the favorite, it's always a good thing to see. Anyway, now colors changed. Same idea for the mid-fight as we've seen before. From Tetris starting off, and then the question is what now? Last time it was really aggressive by Velocity. The last few times before that was really passive. So we've seen at least a variety of things happening off of the fact that they went Tetris every time on each side. Have a look at this damage by Froyo. There's no way he survives this on this guy hits the 6th arrow, and that's not gonna happen. Fortunately. Mamadou goes, maybe not super aggressive, but like compared to most other players, at least he does. At least for his team. BD Ball tried to cross with the soldier going high, but CVS gets destroyed, so they don't have any more distraction and support fire from up in the sky to follow up on anymore. Which makes staying close so much harder. Because Ball's in trouble, Speedy's in trouble, Mamadou's just waiting for something to play off here. Which eventually happens. There we go. Drive's a bit disconnected, but shouldn't be much of an issue.
Alert. The control point is being captured.
Yeah, it very much feels like the first person to make a move here is just losing at the moment. Which is especially strange, because the first few minutes have been really passive by velocity. They
Alert. The control point
weren't much worse than what we see so far. The sack attempt goes through. They lose 2 forward on a position where it's dangerously close to being last point, and Sky dies. Everybody just sacking in. Just the moment the force happened, there was just a switch flipped on Froyo. Well, they didn't care about any like playing slow, playing careful. Just get the kills before the spawns come in, so we have more players once the spawns come in again. And it's exactly what's happening.
The final control point is being contested.
They killed 3 people before the spawns came in, only lost like 1 player in the process, which means they still had player advantage afterwards. They didn't let anything get into spawn 3 at all. So this is going really well. Fast attempt
The control point is being contested.
by somebody there. That's what the Saga gets the kill. Change of pace for Froyo, who've been so far, at least early on, the ones just waiting. This time they just sent one in early. Velocity's reaction to that is just trying to walk over enemy Tetris. Take the fight immediately, lose Shabu in the process though. And this is looking like damage, damage reduction. The mid-fight. They're just trying to get anything here anymore. And I've seen stuff like this work. Flashback to the Mentality game, where they went somewhat aggressive enemy side. Some varying degrees of success. But usually more towards the point than behind enemy Tetris. Like take away their actual space. Well, Mentality did it more in a way where they wouldn't let them get there to begin with. Dying the demo quickly. Sure, a lot of that is changed by the fact that Saigai just died immediately, which just makes it maybe not impossible, just a lot harder to deny space before the demo man. However, when I'm talking absolute garbage, Velocity just takes it back. So I'm clearly paying attention. Alright, sack attempt, the CVS gets 1 good rocket, but everybody's with the medic. And a bit of pressure on Flowers didn't do much. That was nice high stickies, I think. Deal with that jump immediately. That's just nice little counter meta. Big sticky traps that I like to see. Which is weird, because they tend to not work on like low level play. Exactly because you just need to know what kind of stuff high level players would do. Because sticks exactly where you need them to need you to have them. Another stalemate. Froyo's up 4-1, I think. That is how the scoring system works here. It's a little bit until somebody has an idea. As for how aggressive Froyo is at times, they do take it slow when there's not much going on that they actually can do. Actually, interesting position by Shade. Almost still backfires, but at least he has a Pactful back on, which is nice, because he has no space to surf in there. And CVS did find him fairly quickly at least. Still, like, a non-standard position to be in, like, whatsoever. But it's Slamdish tried to walk in from this time. He missed that one. Oh, from Cafe, okay. I assume this idea was the same as last time. Just walk in Cafe behind into Flowers. They're not watching Cafe too closely. Like, they have people watching it, but not anything actually preventing it from going there in the first place. Either way, this time Speedy goes through, gets the force. People try to kind of do something with it, but Last is the only one really getting into mid. And and he won't survive that. People try to, again, play off the fact that somebody was going in follow up on, and everybody's reacting really fast on velocity this time to not let anything get behind, because last time that was the reason they end up losing all the points they did on the map. This time they just don't let it happen. They played careful after they got what they needed, instead of rushing it, and it's being a lot better. Mr. Froyo do the desperation plays fast. Lots of damage on the way to last, so they use a little bit early, but not dramatically so. Still enough to get some damage over the point with some flashes and pressure onto the point. With the scout on there, Shamu's getting flashed all the way. This is so much time lost, by the way. Actually, that needed to be on Saiga or somebody so much sooner. That would have been like half a point capped already with Shamu was flashed the entire time. Anyway, they send people over. Ball from over the left, CVS from over the point, Speedy is also that back off. Or back up people, I should say. But this is where they would need the second soldier to deal damage. The Saiga isn't doing anything right now. They're sticking with the point for no one. Fate has to use it's mostly just a sack back at this point, which isn't terrible. This guy actually snipes down Marvel as well, which is kind of necessary at this point. Because the number situation is sketchy for much longer than he can afford to. And Sai and Sky get separated. That's just sad. This is just simple mistakes. Because otherwise we would have the situation I mentioned earlier, where sure you'll lose second, but you'll also have advantage to play off again. Which, if you have to use it, it's kind of upsetting, but at least you're back on the last position instead of on second again. And if you don't have to use them, you just have straight up advantage last. As it stands, they're just throwing a lot of pressure in. Maybe get something while Speedy's backcapping. But Speedy isn't backcapping and nobody pressuring is actually surviving. Nor getting any meaningful amount of kills. Speedy tries to distract, which I guess gets them some spawners back on the field. Which might be enough to delay onto second. But I don't know. Border is sniping like immediately. So this is slowly falling apart. And keep in mind it's ESEA, we won't see like the last 20-40 seconds or so of the actual demo. So if this were to abruptly end, then I mean at least we know why. It's advantage, but it's not a big one, so Sky might be able to get here. That's an interesting ticket trap actually. Doesn't end up coming into play. Again, this is like a sneaky little anti-meta trap, where you don't expect them to come through shot in the first place. But they just go through lower, which is interesting, because we haven't seen that so far. And on full ad, going from right side makes a lot of sense to me. But this is not really bad at all. This is like 80% by the time they were on second, so kinda have to play around the fact that Sky is most certainly gonna get here. And yes, you have like the sickest jump before any of that happens to begin with, but that's not the case. So it's certainly an exchange here. And Sai and Bo are trying to keep people out of last, so that they only have to deal with a minimal amount of players actually on the last point, which means Sai 5 gets denied, get in the first place, Shade is just dying alone, and Mamadou is desperately trying to get out where his medic couldn't, because they just miscalculated the situation. That's not happening, and that's just 3 people on the sack wave right now, but that's still 2 too many it seems. Because somehow they weren't quite ready for it. And you kinda have to be. Like, they played so well around the 3v6 situation. They created themselves and kept themselves in the entire time in the super exchange. That it's surprising that it falls apart immediately once the US are actually off. That was a really good position to try to get back out of class of. With meaningful advantage to speak of as well. Granted, it had a lot to do with Froyo not really anticipating the situation well enough. But you need to play off these mistakes correctly, because they're not going to present themselves often. And if anything, Froyo does exactly that better, just playing off enemy mistakes more convincingly. That's dropped. CVS has really good timing today. And the fact that Slamdish got beamed in there alone without anybody backing him up makes this all the easier. Because Slamdish was going in there to go in, not to stay with Shade to distract or anything. Nobody else was anywhere close to going in. That was another case of just beaming Slamdish behind. That's a consequence of him dying immediately. And even if he got behind, Shade was still alone there. That was just not well executed by Froyo. Again, Velocity wants to slowly take space. Not have the same mistakes happening twice. Call themselves back over the map. They still have advantage here and a player down on top of that, which makes life a lot easier. That sticks around. Naz tries to jump, but Sky doesn't commit early and the scouts with her as well. DVS dies trying to sack. It's not too big a deal, but that is certainly little sticky trap over here on the rock, on the cliff, whatever, edge, ledge, everything. It's a decent spot to try to use one from. Especially with the curve, now that I think about it. Because like, sticks on ledges are sometimes weird with the explosion radius. Or the explosion radius on sticks on ledges is deceivingly much shorter than you sometimes would imagine. So the fact that there's a curve like counteracts it quite a bit. Alright, Froyo is just trying to take space right now. Forward spawn, Shamu Sniper gets high 5. It's something, and you can't be too picky at this point about what you're getting. Bottom line is, are they gonna try or not? Because last time it worked much better for velocity on small ad. This time, they're again top right, looking to make something happen, but unsure about it. And they end up just playing around the Evenubus, which makes a lot of sense. It's a double sack. It doesn't go anywhere, but it's not as bad as last time they sacked, which ended up being a triple sack, which quite bad for them. The question is if Velocity have the same amount of confidence off of 2 down than they did out of 2 down. The answer is, unfortunately, yes. Because so did Froyo. They find a drop. But even if that wasn't a drop, it would have been a force, it would have been serviceable enough for you to stay in, like, in this. Maybe not at second, because still backing off of losing 2, despite the drop, due to being forced. But they'll have advantage, but it's still easily doable. Last sex again, doesn't get behind, Speedy tries to do the same, doesn't go anywhere, Froyo slowly trying to take space. Velocity isn't trying not to let them, which is interesting. They're trying to approach this really aggressively right now. Ends in mostly trades, but if you get the better damage immediately afterwards, it's fine. However, they have to deal with 2 scouts against 1 and a soldier, and that's kind of a bit better for the scouts, as per usual in this game. It was, I mean, they knew the risk. Like, they could have easily lost a lot more than they did in the end. So trades are not bad. And could have still been doable with trades. But as it stands, the scouts were just too much. And they want to play up this quickly. They again have small ad on Froyo here. Sky just popped out of spawn pretty much. Shade is not going to survive this, is he? CVS is beefing some rockets. But that should do it. Ball goes down as well. High 5 is getting hit out of last. That's 2 for 2 technically, which isn't great. For the team that uses like later without having lost anything before they use technically. Laz is in sketchy position as well, and there's still enough Uber to at least take him out like, without any danger of health in the process. Maybe? I don't know. The Slamdish is right there. And they're not looking at him. Like nobody is. Sky is gonna die here. Almost did now. Well, almost is relative, but you know, like positioning wise, even if he beats some shots. Like, that could have been a death very quickly. And then Marmalou just walks into the lobby and gets the kill for free. Like, no fancy play or anything, just like nobody looked at it all. And there was a demo man with that. So yeah. It's just small things that are going on in Velocity right now. But like small things perfectly timed in Froyo's favor to have huge consequences. That's gonna be a huge advantage where it wouldn't have been otherwise. No sniping, and you need a miracle snipe right now, because Froyo's conversion on advantage right now has been decent. So we'll see. Taking their time to actually decide what to do, but they actually try to take left side, which is surprising because they have more success right so far. Or they had like any quantifiable one success on right side compared to left, I should say. They actually have done it today. And so far, they're not really getting anything here. They got the gun, which is nice. Question is if they have the same amount of confidence in this last point past this point than they did from the other side. Because so far, nobody's really trying to commit much at all here. Las is trying to, but Saga has takes Las goes down to like 40 health immediately. F5 gets taken down. Is not great either. Maulu tries to take the fight there with the scout. That's not going well either. Velocity is just controlling space a lot more effectively right now. They get TBS somewhere along the lines. Doesn't mean too much. The lower area was just cut off by Velocity much better than Froyo, which is surprising because they were much closer to it the entire time with the combo. So left side didn't go anywhere. Las is still around and just jumps people trying to get the point for completely free. Again, just really well timed from a corner where nobody saw him from. And I'm not surprised Froyo is trying to rush us here right now. It's a good opportunity to just try to sneak in a force. And given the fact that CI already did job well, it's going to be much easier to do that. As long as Shade survives, it's all fine. And they might not even have to like waste any time here. I5 dying is a bit of an issue, because it's effectively 2 down. They do wait for Mamadou, which makes sense to me. But yeah, they just do it from there. Would be nice to see how they, or from which side they actually did it. If they did left again, and just, I mean, not really, no, never mind. They have like so much advantage, they can just take it much deeper. Either way, that was a pretty interesting game overall. Lots to see, both bigger and smaller wise, about just gameplay in general on Sunshine and the teams. So there's a decent amount to take away from this. If anything, if nothing else, then Las has really good timing on Roma. That's definitely a big takeaway, like individual player wise. And yeah, I'll have more demos lying around that I'll get to soon enough. And yeah, that should be it for today, because my throat is dying. So see ya.